What's going on, YouTube? And welcome to the Roundtable, where all things Detroit Lions. And we have a great show for you tonight because a lot of news and a lot of stuff been broke today at the NFL Combine. And this is your host, Mr. Micro Mike. And we really got a good one for you. But without further ado, let's get into these intros. First is the man who can believe it's not butter. What up, Doe Andrew?
Yeah, what up, everybody?
All right, next is the only true white man who can jump. What up, Doe Detroit Drew?
You can call me Joe Burrow because I got some small hands today.
Oh, man. 9-incher, huh? Lastly is the man who wins the Tour de France on a stationary bike. What up, Doe Luke G?
What up, though, Mike? Mike, I ain't gonna never get tired of your introductions, man. Never, ever.
Hey, that's what it's all about. Detroit Drew, can you do me a big-time flavor and do roll call?
I like chocolate flavor, but yeah, let's go. Let's see here. We got Kyle Webb in the building, James Willis in the building, obviously Micro Mike's in the building. We got JoJo Burns. How's it going, JoJo? We got Adam. We got Dolo Dynamite. We got Jeff. How's it going, Jeff? We got Pride Tide B in the building. We got Seth. I see you, Jim, Ghost Gunner, Caden, Funky Nuts. That's my favorite name. I love reading that one.
Always is, man. Always is.
I see Rex in the building. I see Kool-Aid and Cornbread, one of my favorite combos. King of Lions, Blue and Silver Phantom, The Dern, Rich Law, and Blue and Silver. So as you guys come in, make sure you hit that like button, and let's hop into it, Mike.
All right, and before I get into the show, I want to say make sure you subscribe to Jim Bordeaux. He is a new Detroit Lions YouTuber. He's been on other platforms. He talks to individuals such as the guys up in Detroit when it comes to the Detroit Lions folks. Subscribe to their channel. They're new to YouTube, and what it's all about is getting the family getting bigger. One pride.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've certainly subscribed, and I could not be more happy. You guys will get a chance to hear them on the round table. So if you don't subscribe, you're going to miss out.
If you don't subscribe, you can't ride. And I'm throwing this question right to you, Mr. Andrew. We have had a lot of news come out today because of the Bob Quinn press conference. And one of the things that came out, surprisingly to me, is how he was openly talking about trading Darius Slay. What is your thoughts about that?
I usually don't like when management kind of, they deal with trade talks and stuff like that because I feel like it kind of devalues what you're doing. But in this situation, just letting it be known, putting it out there saying like, hey, we're about to deal Slay. If you want him, submit your offer. I'm fine with it. In some of our other videos, I said I'm fine with them getting rid of Slay. He didn't do crap for us last year. He's been injury prone last couple of years, and he wants a lot of money. So I think it's good. Just put it out on the table and see what teams bite for him.
Okay, that's a nice idea there. Detroit Drew, what do you think about this? Him openly talking about, yeah, we're looking at options to trade him.
Well, I think it shows that Bob Quinn is not a Lady Gaga fan because he has a terrible poker face. This is one of the worst poker faces I have seen in the last month or so with the Tua smokescreen. And, if you are going to go on and trade Slay, which I don't care either way, just make sure you get some value back in return. But, I mean, right now that comment from what you just said just shows me like they don't care what happens to Slay. So if the team that has Slay doesn't care about him or where he's going to go, why is another team willingly going to go up there and give you something good in return? You're like decreasing his trade value. Now, if you would have gone on and said Slay's a guy we hold at a high regard, it's going to take some teams a first round or whatever to get him off of this team. Okay, you might not get a first round for him in return, but at least you're buffing up his trade value because you're going to talk about him in a good way. You're only hurting yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot with this comment. They gotta watch some World Series of Poker or something and learn how to bluff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man, it was kind of playing Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun. It seemed out of character, just like Pride Time says. Luke, what do you think about this? How he came openly about that?
I think most of y'all missed the message, and I think that y'all look at it and y'all say, "Oh, he bad poker face, out of characteristic," but it's none of those things. It's simply him realizing that the value of one Darius Slay was already done the moment Darius Slay started being Darius Slay.
Yeah.
And once he started talking and basically, oh, I'll take wherever I can get. I'm ready to go down, do this, whatever. Teams already knew, oh, that guy wants out. His value was already dead in the water. If anything, you want to get on Bob Quinn for not trading him sooner rather than later. So at this point, he's essentially already come to the conclusion that, he's going to do like the app say and let him go. And ain't no need to sugarcoat it or hide it. Darius Slay talking, well, let me go ahead and talk too. The feeling is mutual. You don't want to be here, good. We'll find a way to get you out. You don't want to buy in, that's fine. Don't buy in. We'll buy you out by getting you out of here. I've told people that if they trade him before the trade deadline, he was worth at least a second. Once that deadline passed, you went down to at least a third, at best a fourth. Is more than likely going to be the case. And if they got to get anything less than a fifth without a player, you essentially just keep the player and try to appease him for a 1-year deal. So those things all are going to probably happen in that case. But his value is not a first-round pick. His value is not a second-round pick. He's 29 years old. He's on the wrong side of 28. He's 29 right now. And they know for a fact that, guess what? If I'm a team and I'm looking, why am I going to give you anything for a player that's going to be gone? So, plus you got to also understand, this ain't the first time he's been taking calls and stuff for Slay. He originally started out by saying that he want 2 firsts. That was kind of let Slay know, hey, we want you here because ain't nobody going to give us 2 firsts for you. But if they do, we certainly going to let you go. And I think that's what you're seeing. Bob Quinn not trying to sugarcoat nothing. He simply is saying the same thing Slay is saying, which is, this time for this to little thing to cancel. And Slay go into the whole other list of happy Lions fans.
And I concur with some of the folks in the chat. I would not let him go for no measly 4th-round pick, even a 3rd-round pick. I would say simply play out the contract if that was the case. But he also did say Quinn also did say the options. He could play out the contract as well as extend him. So we'll see. We're going to be hearing a lot of rumors this week, and that's what's good about the NFL Combine is all the agents, all the general managers, they're talking. They're coming up with some ideas, and who knows, maybe we'll find something out in the next couple of days about that. What the? Okay, so we got 2 Luke G's. Okay, now we got 1 back, Luke G. Sorry, that was kind of weird. Everyone that speaks about this regime is gone. Yeah, I could see that. And one was simply Snacks Harrison, even though he never really spoke out. And the Meek Mill tweet. Did you guys see the tweet after he was released? Andrew?
I saw a picture, but I was at work, so I didn't really get to read anything.
So basically, it was him running in excitement like he was free from jail. So it really kind of gave us a bad eye when it comes to the Lions. What do you think about that, Luke? Him posting that tweet?
I don't think nothing about it. I think this is the thing. We have looked at this, and a lot of the times we have said that, it's got to be ownership. It's got to be ownership. But here is Snacks, who came in here maybe halfway through the season, and on top of that, being coming in here halfway through the season, he came in and had such success, where his snap count was like 30% when that first season we got him. It was like 30%, and he was excelling. Next year they went up to like 60 something, and he out there like, y'all making me look bad. And these problems stem from the head coach. These players, we can't keep. It's just an organization. It could be the organization, but he left. He thanked everybody but the organization and the coaching staff. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, not even the head coach get a shout out. Usually they'd be like, yeah, great guy. He's going to get this team where they want to be. None of that. He was just like, you fans, y'all deserve it, man. Y'all are awesome. Everything to the fan. He thanked the lunch lady, the freaking lunch lady. Like, The people who watch their uniforms, he was thanking them. And to me, the picture of him with the Meat Mills running out, like, I just think that was just his way of saying, like, he's happy for a new beginning. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. And to me, if you're going to go and play anywhere, it's the same thing Richard Sherman did. He knew he'd be better served in the 49ers than here because he knew they weren't going to be used right. That, again, is more of this head coach GM tandem causing the Lions players. And it just is what it is.
What's going on, Eric Gross? Detroit Drew, did you see that tweet? And if so, what is your thoughts?
Absolutely, I did see it. I think it's a little bit ironic that he officially got waived on Fat Tuesday.
I'm not messing with Drew today, man.
Speaking of Fat Tuesdays, you guys need to leave a big fat like on the video and get those likes up. Last time I checked, we had 40-some people rocking with it. Oh, it's jumped up since then. We got almost 60 people watching, only 18 likes. Let's try to get that pretty close to 60 if we can't get there already. But yeah, man, I seen it, and it doesn't. As a Detroit fan, it's been a rough week, man. You know, the Wings, they're trading away young talent. The people are starting to question Steve Yzerman. Pistons are trading people and letting people go. The Tigers, I don't even need to talk about them. And then the Lions right here, you know, we got Snacks happy after he was talking about retiring, happy to be cut from the line. You want to talk about a poker face? Snack has got a good poker face because he's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Gets waived. He's got a whole new vision of youth coming into him. He's going to go somewhere, maybe Kansas City or somewhere, and try to go ring chase. I don't blame him, man. If I was a player in that locker room, I don't know if I'd want to be there, especially if you speak your mind and you get traded away for a 4th, 5th round pick. You know, he didn't have a great season last year. There's no denying that, but Snacks is one of the best run stoppers in the league still. And even if he's not going to be the same Snacks, he can at least teach your young D tackles or run stoppers some techniques or something. He could be a good guy for the locker room because it seems like him and Darius Slade, they get along just fine. You know, everyone in the locker room likes both of those fellas. When someone like this is happy to get cut, you can't look at this as a good way. This is a bad chemistry-driven team. Nobody wants to be there, especially on that defensive front, who is not from New England.
Well, good thing to add to that, we only have one person under contract on that defensive front. So we're starting from really nothing. So they can't run away when there's only one left.
I mean, that's a good thing, though. And I'm going to tell y'all why. It's a good thing. If this season don't go the way that the Lions brass expected to go, whoever comes in gets a blank canvas to draw whatever he wants, to paint whatever he wants. He may look at it and see something totally different. He'll have an option to go in those different directions. So to me, this is the boiled down point for me. We got to start with two things. We got to start with this. Let the older guys teach the younger guys. I think it was, I forget who it was. Was it Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers who was like, it ain't my job to teach nobody nothing. like you don't need to teach them. And I think that the more that we look at it, the more we got to understand that. And we asked this question last week: how much is this coaching win now mandate hurting the culture here? And it's big time. You got new players coming in here deciding to retire when they get here. Like, what the heck? And then they leave, and now they can dance all night. And, they run around celebrating like, yes, the feeling was mutual. Like, who's happy they get fired? Like, seriously. You know something is wrong with the job when they are happy they got fired. So, to me, I think that our view, even though we got one on contract, it doesn't matter. We got room to build a canvas that anybody should be able to come in and paint their work of art.
Well, something I want to add to that real quick is I don't know if teaching young players was the right word to use, but probably mentor the young talent how to not necessarily on the field, but probably off the field, how to handle your business. And in personal experience, if we're going to get really, all jokes aside, a few months ago, I got fired from my old job. It was a terrible environment to work at. I'm going to call them the Detroit Lions, okay? Terrible place. I came home miserable and I just didn't want to go to work the next day. I was unemployed probably for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, somewhere around that ballpark. Got this new job I'm currently at. I've been here for about 6 months or so now. Best place I have ever worked at in my life. I'm in a better mood when I come home. I'm happy to go there. It flies by. I actually look forward to going to work. I get paid more. I have less responsibilities. So, I mean, sometimes getting fired and going to a different scenery is what's best for that person. So I understand him being happy with that.
Yeah, I think also I'm just looking at it from this standpoint. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like this. This is one of the things where it's becoming a trend. Quandre Diggs celebrating. You got people who didn't even come here bashing us, and Richard Sherman. And I'm telling you, I totally get what you're saying. I've had jobs where I was so stressed out and I took a pay cut and I was happy. I totally get that. But I've also looked at it from this standpoint. In order for a person to be a mentor, they have to be in a good place themselves. And it's looking like whatever's going on here is sucking the life out of people to where now you want to change culture. How can a person who's broken mentor somebody else who has no clue what they're getting themselves into? And it's one of the things that you look at. It's even worse when you look at it and you realize that you're starting to see a trend getting ready to come up where players are going to start to be rejecting teams. The Joe Burrow, should he go to the Bengals? Should Stafford had to told the Lions, hell no, to the no. These little things are starting to become a reality because it's one of them things where you have to look at it and say, new guy, short period of time here, life sucked out of him. He was ready to retire. Gets released. He's back on his boogie, ready to play, got much football left to give. Something is going on.
You know what, Luke, though? I mean, I don't even think it's our coaching. I think it's Detroit as a city, as in our team. There's such a bad stigma around our name. Because when Patricia and our coaches all went to coach the Senior Bowl, every single player has never worked with these guys before, and all of them love them. So it's not our coaches. It's not whatever. It's literally that the NFL hates on us so much that when players do choose to come here, there's just so much hate and negativity that they want out, and it's a problem. And until that gets fixed, I don't think it doesn't matter what coaches and stuff we have.
You know what there is not a problem on is Mr. Melamo shouting me a $5 super chat.
Yes, sir.
I truly, truly appreciate it. I will reinvest it. I promise. I am saving the money right now to get better equipment. And it will be thanks to you and everyone else that is dropped super chats, the reason why this show will continue to get better. He says, I will be angry if we take Tua at 3. Well, I'm going to tell you that you're not going to be angry.
Right. Yeah, you good. You are good. Trust me. You good. The evidence don't suggest it. The evidence don't support that they're taking the quarterback. It sounds good. He doubled, triple, quadruple, wawupu, and fufu, and tutu all the way down on Matthew Stafford being a quarterback this year. And they ain't a win now year. They're not taking another quarterback. It's not happening.
Not only that, Bob Quinn actually called Matthew Stafford after that rumor and told him he is not trading him. And Matthew Stafford himself says he is not wanting to get traded. So that was just a bunk rumor. It's not happening. Stafford's not being traded. The way he talked about Darius Slay today compared to Matthew Stafford was completely different. So you don't got to worry about that. But when it comes to Tua, it is good news because according today, he passed a lot of health, physicals, and everything that he went through when it comes to grading. It looked very, very good. Andrew, how does that affect the Detroit Lions with Tua being grading out good with the health?
I couldn't be more ecstatic because everyone knows Burrow's going number 1. I mean, the dude was throwing 7 touchdowns like every game up until the championship. So even if Burrow goes 1 and Young goes 2, everyone's going to be fighting to get Tua, if he's healthy because he's the second, rated quarterback. And Miami, the Chargers, potentially the Colts. There's a couple teams that really want to get their hands on Tua. So are they going to try and solidify that by jumping to 2 or 3, or are they going to take the chance? And personally, if you like the guy, you're going to go out and do what you need to do to get him. So what that tells me is either Tua's going to go at number 2 because someone traded with the Redskins, which gives us Chase Young. Chase Young falls into our lap. Or Chase Young will go 2, and then people are going to be fighting to get that 3rd pick, our pick, and be willing to give up a decent amount to get the quarterback of their future.
Listen, I know everybody love them some Chase Young, but just do me a favor. Just go to YouTube, type in Chase Young, then type in versus, and just hit enter. And then I want you to look at each video. I want you to start off with the Clemson video. That's the very first one I want you to start off with, which is their Clemson video in the playoffs. I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to then go and look at every video after that, and I want you to tell me that man gives max effort every play. I dare somebody to tell me he gives max effort. I've seen 337-pound D tackles give more effort on the field than that man who's 265 or whatever. I don't think y'all realize this, that I know everybody wants to believe that, the Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, and all this, he could be better than them. Okay. Keep in mind. Be careful what you ask for. Every time y'all ask for it, you get it. Y'all say, get rid of Andre Drummond. Where he gone? I don't think the Pickers won a game since. Y'all said, get rid of Jim Leland. He's gone. How the Tigers doing?
Haven't won a game since.
I'm just saying. So every time y'all ask for it, you get it. And to go back to what Andrew said, one of the issues that's going on with this Lion team is Detroit. These fans, I keep telling you, something wrong with us as a whole. The way we treat these athletes when they get here, because the team success stuff and stuff like that, it's ridiculous. It is not a lot that goes on here. So to me, I'm just going to tell you, when you look up and you ask for them and you get them, keep in mind, this is what you asked for. And I have a very good memory when it comes to those people who ask for it. And I'm going to remind you when you come and be like, we should have never took him. No, that's not what you said. You said we should. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that he would be great on another team if it's a 4-3 where you can put him at the left defensive end. But if you telling him to rush off that right, you're not getting max effort. If for my anime people who watch Black Clover, who watch My Hero Academia, effort is everything. Who watch One Punch Man, 100 push-ups, and you know what I'm saying? All these great shows.
I totally feel you, man. But I mean, the dude put up 16 sacks and he didn't even play in 2 games.
I don't give two. What did he put up against Clemson?
I mean, you win some, you lose some. No one's
okay.
perfect.
Hold on. What did he put up against Michigan?
I don't know the exact stats.
Now, I help you. I help you. He didn't stat against Michigan. The first Wisconsin game, he did pretty good. Second Wisconsin game in the playoff, first half, pure horrible. Once they started blowing Wisconsin out, and he knew that Wisconsin had to pass the whole entire time, they got off. Fine. No knock there. But what I'm telling you is this man loses max effort. Go and look at where he got his 16.5 sacks at. Go and look at it. And then come and ask me, when the games mattered the most, where was he? Just saying.
We have a new member that's joining us on the roundtable tonight, and that is the Hook Cam. He is an individual that gives the sun cancer. What up, though, man?
What's up, fellas? How are we? Thanks for having me on. Sorry I'm a bit late. I thought it was 5 o'clock, but I'm on the West Coast, so time zones, adding, math, addition, subtraction, not my strong suits.
Not math neither. That's probably why I play football.
Yeah, exactly. Happy I'm here.
Now, a lot of people may not know who you are or what you do for your channel. Would you like to explain a little bit to the folks out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit of a background on me. I coached college football for 3 years, played college football, been involved with sports in general my whole life. So obviously there's a big love for football there. So my channel is really taking a look at games from a coach's perspective, really just kind of looking at film, seeing what I see that most other fans might not be able to see. And then I do a little bit of predictions, getting into a little bit of draft stuff, but for the most part, it's all, taking a look at games, breaking down film, showing, just kind of the minor coaching adjustments or playing adjustments that most regular fans, and I don't mean that to be offensive in any way, but might not see. So that's the biggest thing with my channel. But yeah, man, I'm stoked to be here. It was me and Luke last time. I've been chiming in here and there on your guys' roundtable, so I'm pretty excited to be here this time around.
Man, we're happy to have you, man. When you reached out, I was like, yeah, you come on. Yeah, the guy knows his football. And plus, he's a fellow connoisseur of hating pro football focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
We're gonna leave him alone.
I'm
today.
sure it's once an episode that we get a little bash on PFF segment, and I'm always there for like the first little bit of it. So I enjoy the hell out of that, man. Just a bunch of nerds, man. Just a bunch of nerds over there.
Get your taxes done, Biden, is what I tell them.
Yeah.
We already got folks in the chat saying that you should replace Matt Patricia.
The hate for Patricia from you guys, man. I mean, like I said, I'm a Pats fan. I guess I should probably lead off with that, since this is, that we kind of have to. I'm different than you guys in that sense, but I have a couple of thoughts on it. I don't want to interrupt the conversation, though. I know we were talking Chase Young for a little bit, so whatever you guys got on deck, let's dive in.
All right, so we're talking about Chase Young. Now, given your perspective, what do you think of Chase Young, and where would you draft him?
I think Chase Young is he's an excellent football player, but and I know Luke and I share a lot of the same views on this, which is good or bad, it is what it is. I think that Chase Young was an excellent college football player. I think that once he gets to the NFL and he's playing legitimate NFL talent that's been in the league for 5, 10, 12 plus years, he's going to struggle, because his go-to is, I'm way faster than you off the edge. I'm going to line up wider than you, and I'm going to beat you to a point. I'm going to swipe your hands, and I'm going to bend this corner and get to the quarterback. Well, when you're playing against dudes who have been in the league for 12 years, when you're playing against a guy like Andrew Whitworth, who plays for the Rams, who's an exceptional talent, when you play against guys like that, there's 10, 15 other guys in the NFL that are just like you. So I think that he's very athletically gifted. I think that he's got a lot to learn, but I don't think that he's going to come into the NFL and get 10 plus sacks. I just don't see that happening. Now, I also was super low on Josh Allen last year coming into the draft, and he had a great rookie season. But that's just my opinion on Chase Young. Very, very talented, very athletic, but I think that isn't going to translate as much as people think it's going to once he gets to the NFL.
I agree. The situation has to be so perfect in a way where he's allowed to do his best things. And to me, one of the things I'm very critical of when it comes to O linemen or any type of D lineman, I don't care what they are, is how do you use your hands? What's your arsenal of moves? You can go to Gallimore and in one game see him do a spin, a rip, knock the hands down, show power. It's just so much he does. The swim move, which is his go-to move. With Chase, it is exactly what you said. I can run around you. Good luck. And if you watched him in that Clemson game, you see him do that run around you quite often, and the quarterback just stepped up. Like, you can run around me all you want. And a few times where he ran around and the quarterback had dropped back further, because he needed time for the roster to develop, the quarterback took off on him and he just gave up Chase. So yeah. And that's no pun intended, but I get what you're saying.
And again, folks, Jim Bordeaux is a new Detroit Lions YouTuber. Make sure you subscribe to his channel, as well as the Hook Cam, and of course, real Detroit Lions fans. These are YouTubers. Obviously, the Hook Cam's not a Lions fan, but great, he's a Patriots fan, and we have a lot of connection there. So make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. Detroit Drew, did you hear how much that Coach Patricia and Bob Quinn gushed about Simmons in this press conference?
I did not. But from what I've gathered, that they're a copycat team, man. If one gets fired, one's going out with them. If one person likes the other, well, they're going to talk about that player in a good way. There are two peas in a pod. Come from the same organization from the Patriots. This was Bob Quinn's plan the entire time Jim Caldwell was here, was to bring one of his boys, rather it was Daniels or Patricia. He ended up going with Patricia. They're going to think the same. They're going to say similar things, even though they look different. They're going to say things that sound very similar. I'm not shocked by it. And if we get Simmons, I'm not going to be mad because Simmons is a hell of a player. And he's going to bring a lot to that defense. He can cover a lot of holes and play a lot of different positions. If we end up drafting Simmons, I won't be mad.
I was watching it live, and generally when I hear information when it comes to a general manager as well as a coach, it could be disinformation. However, I watched the facial expression of Bob Quinn when they said the words Isaiah Simmons, and it went from normal straight face to looks like he was in seventh heaven. A completely different facial expression, and to me, that shows how much he likes it. Andrew, did you hear the press conference, and what do you take from this? Do you believe it's disinformation, or do you think it's legit?
I mean, I totally believe everything they're saying. I think when you look at tape and you watch the type of player he is, who he reminds me of is Harrison Smith from the Vikings. I mean, the dude can play in the box. You know, he can play deep. He can play so many positions, and Patricia is all about versatility. You know, I want someone that can play inside, outside, you know, everything. And Simmons is exactly that player. And I've been saying that we need help at linebacker. And the fact that he could play linebacker and safety, which we need help in both of those positions, is phenomenal. Let alone, I've said in past videos that if Chase Young is taken at 2, I 100% want Isaiah Simmons at 3 if we can't trade back. And even if we can trade back, if he's there, I want him because he just brings so much of a dynamic to our team, and he's just talented. You know, he played in a good conference and a lot of competition and everything. I don't see any downside, so I don't see a reason why, you know, Patricia and Quinn would lie about that or kind of fib at all.
When it comes to Isaiah Simmons, I'm throwing this one to Luke G at the end because this is the guy that he started with in the beginning of the offseason, and I think he feels like Nostradamus right now. Luke,
hey, just doing research,
brag
man.
a little bit.
No, I mean, listen, I've told you that I've paid attention to the patterns. The pattern has always been the same. It's been consistent. And I think that Bob Quinn recognized that he had a pattern for taking his first picks. I mean, he's had 4 drafts and 4 of his picks have come from the Big Ten or the SEC. I think he's going to break that pattern with this because this prospect is a identical fit of what they talk about. And if you know anything about the Bob Quinn code, don't nobody break that code like I do. Because one of the things that he looks for, one of the things that he looks for when it comes to him getting his draft and getting his players, he has not wavered on it at all. And he said it very clear. I got 5 traits that I'm looking for. High football IQ. Simmons got high football IQ. High character. I ain't heard nothing about Simmons having no issues in class. Everybody loves him. Even the opposite teams love him. You know, he said he want a guy who's a passionate player. You watch him play and tell me he ain't got passion. They said they want somebody with versatility. That man can play literally linebacker, safety, slot corner. I mean, it's ridiculous. And he can rush the passer. He has, you know, he has a very good neck for blitzing. And then he says, I want a guy who's a competitor. He had to be competitive. And so when I look at the fact that this guy is all 5 of those characteristics and the fact that it's a position of need. I remember when the season started, I said I would take the most physically gifted safety in this draft with the first pick. And I got my butt handed to me. The subscribers handed it to me and told me, you crazy, a safety? And lo and behold, this entire time I was saying that, I was thinking it's going to be Isaiah Simmons. The evidence supports it. The way that they talk about how they want to build this team, past draft picks and how they took them. Each player they took had a versatility to them. And to me, the truth is this. Go and look at how they talked about the tight end position. There's another tale for me because Bob Quinn never had a poker face. When they talk about the tight end position, they said things like, we want people with their hands in the dirt. Well, TJ Hawkinson put his hand in the dirt. They literally was telling teams what they was going to do. And I think this is nothing more than another earlier preview that they like Isaiah Simmons. Now, there's people that they have as a plan B, you know, when it comes to him. But yes, I am under the belief that if they stay within the top 10, Isaiah Simmons is their pick.
Yeah, I think that's totally on their board. Could be their top guy with their board, the way that his facial expression showed when that name came up. Hook Cam, since you're a coach, What is attributes that you like about Isaiah Simmons compared to other people in the draft? Why should he be the pick?
I think that the thing that Isaiah Simmons brings, and looking at Clemson's defense, they run a very unique defense, right? They run basically a 3-man front. They bring a ton of pressure, a ton of fire zone. So they're going to run their zone, their cover 3 behind it, or they're going to lock up and man behind it. But it's his versatility. I mean, the dude doesn't mind lining up as a nickel corner. He doesn't mind lining up at a safety. He rushes the passer extremely well for a dude who's coming off the ball. I bet you that I don't know, because I haven't sat down in a classroom and watched film with him. I bet you his football IQ is off the charts, because he did everything at Clemson. I mean, he did everything. So I think that that's really what sticks out the most. And you look at Patricia and you start thinking about, what is he trying to build in Detroit? He's going to bring some of the identity that New England has with him to Detroit. And one of the biggest things that Belichick likes is versatility. And that's basically what you're getting with Isaiah Simmons. He just plays at an extremely high level. I actually really like the Harrison Smith comparison. I'm not a comparison guy, because I like giving the players the opportunity to obviously create their own identity. But the Harrison Smith comparison is a really good one, because he can line up in the box. He can tackle well. I think that he's a very complete package. And again, I do think that the Lions are going to trade out of that number 3 spot, which I hope that you guys are going to talk about that, because I have a couple of things I want to say about it. But I like Isaiah Simmons for the Lions. I think that's a quality pick for them that's going to help them now and in the future.
Speaking of trading out, that was the next question. I'm going to throw it to Detroit Drew. Before I throw it to him, I got to brag a little bit. I decided to watch a mock draft, and the Lions traded out from 3 to 5. And what they received? 2 second-round picks. I about crap my pants, because that's exactly what I've been saying for months now. So I was pretty excited about that. I'm looking at the point system. Yes, go ahead, check my video out. But Detroit Drew, the odds of Lion drafting out of 3 to 5 or 3 to another pick, what can we get for it? And should we do it?
Well, there's a couple of things that could be put into play here. We've been talking about trading Slay. This is potentially a move where you could package Slay in a deal and get some more value in return. Now, I'm not sure what the Lions would be looking to get. Obviously, if they're wanting to move down from 5, they're going to get another first-round draft pick in return for it, obviously. Depends on who wants it. If Tua is super healthy, which he just got cleared, I think Miami is going to come at that full force. But Bob Quinn, like I said, is not a Lady Gaga fan, terrible poker face.
I don't even think he's trying to give you poker face.
I mean, why? If you were going to do that, though, it's just, why wouldn't you talk about Tua? That's just what this is what the Lions is coming down to. Even if we don't move, it's revolving around Tua. This is probably the most important player to us, even if we don't take him, because if we're moving down, someone has to move up to get him, unless he's going number 2, which then brings Chase Young to number 3, which puts the Lions in a weird predicament of what they have to do, because now they're granted to get 1 or 2 guys that they need, a pass rusher or Simmons. I've been listening to a lot of different people talk about what the Lions need and what they should do, and one of them was Colin Cowherd, which I'm not a Colin fan. I think he's a dork, but he said the Lions needed to take Tua to get flashy. Now, obviously, he is not from Detroit or from Michigan.
True.
Because that is not the Detroit way. The Detroit way, rather you want to talk baseball, hockey, basketball, football, which we don't really have a culture with football, but it's getting down in the dirt, getting dirty, and going to work. We literally had a championship team in basketball called the Going to Work Pistons. You have to get a workhorse. You don't need to get a superstar or a flashy player that, they're going to hold in a Tom Brady regard where he's the player of the league. That's not really the Lions or Detroit way. The Detroit way is defense. Go out there and get your guy defensively.
Facts. I like that defense. I love defense. I think that's how you win. Andrew, trading 3. It definitely looks like Bob Quinn's wanting to do that. He said, hey, come take my pick. Were you willing to trade? And if so, how far? And what do you want to receive in return? Because I tell you what, Now you're seeing that Justin Herbert starting to go up boards, like I said, and that's going to make the value, even with Tua's healthiness that's taking place, the value of that number 3 is looking good. So what say you?
I mean, honestly, I'd go anywhere to all the way to like the 8th pick or so. Because if you think about it, I mean, Justin Herbert, Tua, Chase Young, Joe Burrow, and that offensive tackle I'm totally drawing a blank on. All these guys are going to go early, And then you have Okudah, you have Simmons, you have Derek Brown. So what does that put you at? That puts you at about 8 picks, right? I'm not going to take a quarterback, obviously. So and Herbert's going to go before 8. There's just too many teams in the top 10 that need a quarterback. Someone's going to trade up, or even one of those teams are going to sit where they are and take him. So that pretty much leaves you with one of those elite guys that I'm fine with, And then on top of that, what are you going to get? You're going to get that first-round pick, which is, let's say, 8, or even the Dolphins 5, and you're probably going to either get another first-round pick or like a first and a third or 2 2s or something like that, And with how many holes we have, I'm fine with it because there's a lot of sleeper defensive players that I would love to take in the second round, or even like late first round, taking a risk on someone like, another defensive tackle on top of potentially getting Derek Brown or someone, So like we have too many holes to not trade back. I think it would be stupid if there was an offer on the table to not accept it.
Okay, I'm going to throw this to Luke, and I know Hook Cam after that, he's definitely got something to say about it. Luke, trade. What say you?
I mean, obviously the first goal is to trade. It's always to acquire more picks and get more talent. And then you have to go through and understand that whoever you take needs to make sense. I don't think the cornerback makes sense, and I don't think that we're going to go in that route. But if we get that 5th pick or that 6th pick, although I wouldn't want to go down further than 5, let's just say we get the 5th or the 6th pick. Then yes, I think that, they're going to look at Simmons. I think plan B is offensive tackle. Surprisingly, I think that's offensive is the plan B. I do not think it's Derek Brown, although I can see him being in play, but people forget that by releasing Snatch, because I don't call him Snacks no more. He snatched money and he left. We cannot call Snacks no more. They just snatched. He snatched that money and ran. So, he's almost close to the Hamburglar at this point. So, but I think that frees it up for them to go in free agency and get somebody who they can plug in and not pay a lot of money to. And to me, when it comes to that 2nd pick, everything's on the table. I've told Mike months ago, and Mike told me they better not. He told me you can't be right about this. I'm like, listen, running back is going to be a high pick this draft. J.K. Dobbins is a guy that they like. Big Ten school, check. Run between tackles, check. One cut, check. Downhill runner, check. Power, check. Speed, power. Catch the ball at the backfield, check. The only flaw in his game is he can't block worth a lick. He can't. If that's the only thing I got to teach a player, I see them looking at it. So if the further we get down, the more likely we are to attack certain areas. And for me, I think the trade down scenario makes sense. Now, this whole trade down stuff like with the Colts don't make sense. But if you can stay within that top 10, I think you'll get a very good player. And I think you'll be all set to go. And to me, I feel like that we're at a point now where if you're not trading down, hands down, it's going to be Isaiah Simmons.
Okay. Hook Cam, what say you about this?
So I saw an article ever since I came on this the DSA with Luke the other day. I've been trying to pay attention to as much Lions news as possible. And I saw something the other day that said Bob Quinn said that he hadn't heard any offers yet for the number 3 overall pick. I hope that's true, and I hope he doesn't hear anything till draft day, because once draft day hits, every team is going to be scrambling to get to that number 3, and you can really work over some teams and get some good return on it, as opposed to guys, playing the what if game right now. I'm hoping for the Lions' sake that Tua balls out at this combine, and that nobody talks to you until draft day, because then you're going to be able to get some serious return for trading that number 3 pick. I think that they should trade back. I think that they should try and trade back and either take Simmons or Derek Brown, because I think those two guys would fit into this defense really, really well. And I agree with Luke again. Sorry, I'm just sitting here saying that I agree with Luke, but
hey, great minds think alike. We can't get mad
exactly.
at this level of greatness. I mean, the way we view the game, it comes from a coach's mentality, and it comes from being a part of the game and seeing it. So I can't knock you for it. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that if you can get Miami to trade with you at the 3, if Tua has an outstanding combine and Miami's just salivating, like, we can't let this guy go, because the Chargers are going to be trying to trade at 3, and Miami's going to be trying to trade at 3. You got 2 teams now competing against each other, and you just try and pump up that Miami offer, see if you can squeeze in another one of their first rounders. They got 3 to give. And then you can really try and work it, try and pick up a D lineman late, try if Kinlaw drops or if someone drops, because weird things happen at the combine, man. Weird things happen and guys go up and down the board. Herbert's going to be hot on the streets. Who knows what's going to happen? But I really hope that for the Lions' sake, Tua has an outstanding combine. They're able to pick up an Isaiah Simmons early and then pick up another D lineman later in that first round to really round up that defense and try and address offensive line in the second or third round. I think that is the picture perfect scenario for the Detroit Lions this year in the draft.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Offensive line in the second round, defense in the first. I'm with you there. I think you build through the trenches. That's the way you win in this game. And speaking of Patriot and trenches, there is one guard from the Patriots that a lot of us are salivating over.
Yep.
Tell us about Mr. Tooney.
Joe Tooney is he's exactly what you want in a guard. He literally didn't miss a game playing for the Patriots. He didn't miss a game in the 4 years he was there. I mean, the dude's just an all-around stud. He can do everything you want from the guard position. He can pull. He's great. He was, in most situations in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 53, he was matched up with Aaron Donald one-on-one. Now, I'm not saying that he won every single time, because that's just not the case. You're not going to win every snap against a guy that's that talented. But he was one of the dudes he was the pillar of that offensive line. I hope that he goes and gets as much money as he can. Going to a familiar face like Detroit's probably very enticing for a kid who's entering free agency for the first time. They'll probably pay a pretty penny for him, but he's going to be worth everything. I mean, Luke, we were talking about it the other day when we were doing the first live show. The guard spot is one of the biggest needs for the line. If you can go and address that in free agency and then build your defense through the draft, a young, hungry defense, dude, this Lions team can make a splash, man. Like, I was watching the film a little while ago. It's like losing to the Packers by a point. And the Packers are the powerhouse of that division. NFC North can be, I don't want to say up for grabs, but the Lions can definitely make a statement. Like, I really don't think that this team's that far off. And then I don't understand why people keep saying the Lions should draft Tua. Matt Stafford is legit. Like, the dude is one of the most talented passers in the NFL.
You got to love hearing that from a fan outside of the Lions community.
Dude, I keep trying to tell you, I don't get it.
Matt Stafford is so talented throwing the football, and I literally don't get why these people who are literally paid money to talk sports, and they're telling people that they should trade Matt Stafford. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you go and vacate this lockdown position on your team that's been a cornerstone for the last however many years, and you're going to go and ship him off for a rookie? It doesn't make sense to me. So, like, you got a cornerstone with Stafford, build that offensive line around him. He's going to be able to figure it out. But like I said, that defense, and hey, y'all should be happy that Snatch Harrison isn't around anymore, because I was watching some film. Dude, I was watching some film on him, and he was just getting tossed. And obviously, no offense to him, because I don't play in the league and never even sniffed it. But I mean, he was just getting tossed when they were running like inside zone and dives and powers. And it's like, buddy, you were brought to Detroit to be able to shut down the middle of the field, and you didn't do that. So, like I said, that's why I think drafting a defensive lineman later in the first round, or maybe early second, is so key. Because if you can get a hungry, like Derek Brown is a slam dunk if he's available.
Yes, I'm with you. I've been jumping on the Derek Brown bandwagon since the beginning. I think he would be a fantastic pick if we can get him, as well as Kinlaw has done good.
Yep.
And Galemore, I think we could probably get him in the second round. And I think if we trade back, pick up some extra picks, maybe 2 second-round picks for Miami or a possible late first, you're going to be able to secure that defensive line. and pretty much secure that defense to grow the way it needs to be in the black and blue division.
100%.
Snacks Harrison kind of fell off, and that's why when we released him, I didn't care, man. I felt like his age crept up on him, and it's very imperative we get an individual in the middle that can stop the run as well as get after the passer. I think Derek Brown, Kinlaw, and Galemore could do that for sure.
Yeah. The Galemore kid is very legit. I've watched a decent amount of film on him, and that's why I got the draft order pulled up. If you can get Miami and LA competing, and you can trade with LA for the third and then get their second, which is the, let's see, fourth or fifth pick in the second round, and snag Galemore early in the second, you got like that draft is looking very, very good at that point. So a lot to unfold for the Lions, but like, you guys are Lions fans, and I'm not just trying to pump your tires. There is a path there to make this team competitive for next year. And I agree with you guys. It is a win now year next year. Like there's no choice for that coaching staff.
Hey, can't disagree. We got to win. And like you said, you win through the trenches. That's how you win. And picking up Tua, a backup quarterback who's had 3 surgeries in 3 years, is not ideal for a situation when you're trying to win now with a quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who, if he didn't break his back, could be up there with the MVP consideration.
He's so good. I do not understand why people don't give Stafford the credit he deserves. He's so talented throwing the football.
It comes down to
one
wins,
word,
losses,
Detroit.
man.
Yeah, all right.
You say only here can that happen, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
And he actually wants to be here.
They would be talking like he's a top 5 quarterback in the league if he literally played anywhere other than Detroit or Ohio. Maybe if he played for the Browns. I don't know. Anywhere but Detroit, people would talk about him in a whole different way.
He's so good. Anyway, we can get off the Stafford. I didn't mean to get us going on the Staffords.
No, I mean, but it's proof positive when outside source who's a fan of a team that wins. It's like, what is y'all problem with this quarterback? And our own fan base here is like, he's hot garbage. He hasn't learned anything. Okay. He's had Calvin Johnson. Like, but y'all forget that he got better once Calvin left. No, he didn't. Yeah, he did. Oh, Calvin was already doing his thing. Look at Calvin's numbers prior to Stafford, then look at him with Stafford. You'll be very surprised. But it's more evidence that we have a fan base that asks for things, and then when it happened, we mad about it. Like, I can't tell you how many people I saw say get rid of Andre Drummond. He's gone now, and all I see them same people doing is the Pistons suck. They got rid of Andre Drummond. Like, you asked for it. Like, so
You've been watching my videos, haven't you?
Hey, I'm just saying, Drew. Hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I don't get this fan base, and I know it's a rough time in the city of Detroit, but I like we was talking about Joe Tunney. I think I did a video like months ago, basically saying, if they are up for trade or release, the Lions will pounce on these players from the New England Patriots. And his name was one of the names that came up. Him and Cars, Ted Cars was another one that came up. Obi was another one that came up. But I remember going through just looking at certain players based on what they're looking for and saying that, hey, if the opportunity presents itself, these are the names that you're going to see that's going to come up. And it did.
The best statistic that he has is the fact that he's available. I think that's something that we require because injuries for this team is really hurt our franchise past couple of years, specifically last year with so many injuries. And if Tunney can stay healthy for us like he has the past 4 or 5 years for the Patriots, that is a net positive. And we got to replace Glasgow, and I think he'd be an ideal fit as well as an upgrade. But there's other information that came out today that's not Detroit Lions news, but it does affect us. It looks like the Carolina Panthers are going to keep Cam Newton. So that makes a quarterback for a team to trade for one less and more value for the Lions with, again, like a Herbert out there. Detroit, Drew, how does that affect that Carolina looks they're going to keep Cam Newton and one less quarterback for other NFL teams to acquire?
Well, there's a couple things to look at here because I know Chicago was interested in the Cam Newton race, which You throw a good quarterback or just a semi-decent quarterback on Chicago, and that's a whole nother
Facts.
element, and that would make it harder for us to be competitive in a win-now mode. So I'm happy for that case because I don't really well, it's too early to write teams out, but with Mitch Trubisky there, I'm not a strong believer in Chicago to win big games, although that defense is insane still. But draft related, you hit it, man. People are now who want a quarterback are going to be more aggressive and more needy to get that guy. You know, we talk about Detroit, we're under pressure of Bob Quinn and Patricia being on the hot seat. How many other teams have that? Or how many new people in a regime want to start their new rebuild or their first year with a young rookie quarterback in Tua, Herbert, Burrow, whatever you want to say? They want to go out there and get that guy so that way they can say, well, I just need more time. I got this young guy. I want him to develop. So I think this is an absolute win for the Detroit Lions because you don't have to worry about Carolina unless they're a wild card team. And I don't know how long it's going to take for them to rebuild. You know, obviously losing Luke Kuechly and Ron Rivera is going to be crucial. So I don't think they're going to be a wild card team. So if our goal is to make the playoffs, that's just another playoff spot for us too.
Folks, I see that we have 85 in the chat. I do not know how many likes are up there, but if you haven't done so, please hit that like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to The Hook Camp, do so. He's very well-spoken when it comes to the NFL. He's newer on YouTube. He talks about everything NFL, not just his specific team of the Patriots, as well as, of course, real Detroit Lions fans. They're newer. They will be hosting roundtables. You must subscribe to their channel. And, of course, everyone else on the round table here as well. Subscribe to us if you haven't done so. That's weird because you're actually on it right now. So that means you must have subscribed. Dolo says, please answer what if we re-sign Glasgow and also sign Tooney. That would be interesting. Glasgow can play center as well as guard. I think he would be better than Joe Dahl on the left side. So that'd be very interesting. I like Glasgow. I think he's an underrated not necessarily as bad as some people believe he is. But Andrew, getting to this, again, with the Carolina Panthers not wanting to ship out Cam Newton, how does that affect us?
You know, I first off want to say I actually think that's a bogus claim. I think that they're 100% lying because they benched Cam Newton when he did come back this past season. And yeah, they put him on IR or whatever, you know, but like he was playing like crap. And then they brought in Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen had a couple great games, and then he fell off the map. So if I'm the GM, I'm looking at that. I'm like, well, Cam Newton didn't do so hot when he was playing, and then he went on IR. You know, what do we really have there? We have a quarterback around 30 years old who's not playing the majority of seasons because he's constantly injured. You know, it's time to move on. So, and they don't have that much draft capital. So the best bet for them is to say, yeah, we're going to keep Cam so that potentially Justin Herbert might fall to them. You know, I don't know. I think it's definitely a smokescreen on their part. And hopefully they are telling the truth then, because that would you know, increase our value at 3. But I personally think that it's a smokescreen.
It very well could be. And you're seeing the quarterback carousel start to take place. It looks like Tom Brady's going to be talking with the agents for the Patriots during the Combine, as well as Drew Brees going back to the Saints. So it'll be interesting, and that's something for us Lions fans to make sure you keep an eye on because, again, the value of, again, the Chicago Bears not getting a quarterback. We want Trubisky to keep their quarterback. We love Trubisky on the Chicago Bears. He helps us out a lot. And let me see here. Re-sign Graham, sign Tooney. That would be nice. It would be nice. Another interesting note is TJ Lang came out and thinks the Lions should pursue Chris Jones and, of course, guard Joe Tooney. Since we already talked about Tooney, let's talk about Chris Jones. Luke, what do you think about that?
I think TJ Lang is right. First of all, you got to understand, he's targeting the weak spots of our team, the trenches. This is something that me and you share an opinion of, Mike. So that starts there. Secondly, what he's also describing is if you're going to bring in a D tackle to replace, bring in one who can pass rush but still anchor on the run. Who better than Chris Jones? You know, and then to look at it from this standpoint is this. With Chris Jones, you know what you're going to get in that product. So it's not like you have to, wait and see what he's going to become. Whereas if you go out and you get the 3rd or the 5th pick and you take a D tackle, we don't know what they're going to become as a D tackle. Not to mention that this team is looking for somebody they can move around, that can go from D tackle to DN and so forth. And to me, Chris Jones would be the perfect pick. Now, is the price tag going to be high? Yes. But to me, you've paid that price tag before with Trey Flowers. You've paid that price tag before with people like Justin Coleman, Glover Quinn. This ain't the first time the Lions have paid price tags for high-profile free agents. And to me, Chris Jones should be right up there on that list, as well as Joe Tunney, because what you're trying to do is get stronger in the trenches. You're trying to improve areas that you're weak at. Now, is it going to cost you a premium to get Chris Jones? Yes. But my belief is sign him to a short-term deal, something like 3-4 years, and get him out of here. See what happens. But to me, I think TJ Lang is hitting on the same point that we've always talked about, which is build it from the inside out and use that as a springboard to get this thing going. If they can do that, man, the sky could be the limit. Although I still don't believe in our AC, I just think that if they can just try to get the talent somewhat, they'll be okay.
Just imagine having him in there again, just like Caden says, Hand, Flowers, and Jones. Imagine if we drafted Isaiah Simmons, we had that defensive line, and quarterbacks don't have 7 seconds to wait to throw the football. Can you imagine turnover city? Detroit Drew, should we go after the defensive tackle, the beast from Kansas City, and drop a Banks truck to him and bring him to Detroit?
Absolutely. I'm 100% behind it. Waving, or I shouldn't say waving, but releasing Snacks, it left a big hole, man. You lose, Snacks 300 some pounds, almost probably pretty close before.
Snatch. Not Snacks.
I'm sorry. I still have respect for the guy.
I got respect for him too. You can rob somebody that way and they see it coming. Hey, why am I going to be mad at you? Don't hate the game, hate the player. Or is it don't hate the player, hate the game? Either way, it works. So,
whatever. I'm sorry. I'll call him Harrison. You let him go, right? You got a big hole to fill. And if you're trying to establish this culture, Kansas City, guess what? They just come off a Super Bowl. You're bringing also a guy who knows what it takes to get a Super Bowl. He's been there. They played some very good games. I think they were trailing in every single game of the playoffs this year. Overcame all of that. Absolutely. This guy would be great for the locker room. Winning culture, helps establish that mindset. If he buys into Patricia, people are going to start saying, okay, he finally won something outside of New England. Now he's here trying to help establish that. I think if someone could save Patricia's job, someone like him who's won outside Detroit, buying in would help kind of change the mindset, and players would start to sink in and actually start to care again.
Andrew is about to get off, and I'm going to throw it to him for his last words, and Real is going to jump on here. Andrew, man, what do you got to say to the folks?
Hey, I definitely want to touch base on this, man. I've been preaching about stacking the O-line and D-line for as long as I can talk. As long, once I said my first words, basically, you know what I'm saying? Because, without a good O-line, you can't run the ball. Without a good O-line, you can't pass the ball. You can't do crap, right? Without a good D-line, you can't create pressure on the quarterback. You can't stop the run, So unless you can establish dominance at that line of scrimmage, you're not going to be able to do crap. So I think bringing in Tooney would be phenomenal, because once you guys mentioned him, I didn't know that much about him. He's not a big name guy. I did a little bit of research, and the dude wins like 97% of the time. He's a phenomenal guard, and I would love to have him. The preferred thing would be nobody pursues Graham Glasgow in free agency, and we can sign him to a little bit cheaper because we're not getting him at a premium. And then bringing in Tooney and Chris Jones, I think, is a phenomenal ad. If we can't get Chris Jones, I would love to get one of the other good defensive tackles or DNs in free agency and just help establish our D-line a little bit better.
You win in the trenches, and that's facts. Well, go ahead and say goodbye to the folks out there. Well, Real is about to jump on there, Andrew.
All right. Yep. Peace out, y'all. Just take a second, like the video, subscribe, and continue on.
Let's go. Hashtag DSA.
Hashtag DSA. And we'll get this movement going, folks. Again, the legacy media does not like to talk about Detroit unless it's in a negative view. That's why we are here, to fill that void and continue grow this community. I don't care if you're new to YouTube or if you're old. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, one pride, that's how we roll. And I got to do an introduction. And this is the man who can clog a toilet when he's taking a leak. What up, No Real?
What's up, man? I look forward to those introductions twice a week.
I mean, right? They are impenetrable.
I'm never gonna live that one down.
Doctor and get that one checked out. You might have a problem.
Well, guys, man, I'm happy to be on here. I was listening and I was in the chat and I was hearing Andrew talk and I was like, all right, enough, Andrew, tag me in. I need to be in on this right now. So I'm glad that you guys let me in and you kicked Andrew off.
The unstoppable force meets the impenetrable object.
Yes, sir.
Real, you have not been on here. All the things that we discussed about, pick one, and I want to hear your view. Anything that we discussed about.
Ooh, oh man, I wish I knew I was gonna.
Just stay away from Chase. Stay away from Chase. Don't do that.
All right, I'll just talk about what you guys were just talking about. So I would love for the Lions to get Chris Jones and Tooney. I would love for us to stack our trenches as much as possible and still address those both in the draft, because I think that's where we need to be dominant in order for us to execute whatever Patricia's trying to do, because I'm really not sure at this point. And I think that we need big playmakers in the trenches above all else. And I used to be of the opinion that we didn't have enough cap space, because like $50 million in cap space. But listen, we got people on expiring contracts like Galladay that we need to re-sign, and they'll be more expensive. And then also players that we signed previously, like Justin Coleman and Trey Flowers, who, we only paid like $6 million to Trey Flowers last year. That's going to bump up to like $18 million this year. The point I'm making is we have a lot of backloaded contracts, right? So I was afraid we were going to get really expensive really fast with these very few guys that we have, and that we wouldn't be able to lock down a really top tier talent in free agency. But news recently came out about the CBA, and one of the pieces of news was that the cap will increase potentially up to $300 million, and that could increase further if, yeah. I'm sorry, up to $300 million, and I think it's currently at $200 million, something like that. I'm sorry if I have my figures wrong. I don't have it exactly in front of me, but it's gonna increase dramatically, is what I'm trying to say. And that's exactly what I was hoping for when I hear all these backloaded contracts, because a $16 million contract is very expensive in our current cap. But if we increase the cap significantly, then that $18 million for a defensive end like Trey Flowers might not be that expensive later on. So that's what I was hoping for, and it seems like that is going to come true. So I'm all for going out this offseason. Sorry, this was a long-winded answer to say, let's spend that money this offseason. Let's spend that money. Let's get those big playmakers, because I agree with Hook Cam, and I agree with some of the analysts out there saying that we're not too far away from being competitive.
And I received this a lot, and I've noticed a couple of comments here doing live podcast. I am perfectly fine showing my face with a video. Real is, Detroit Drew is. The reason we don't do it on the round table is because Luke G has a civilian job that we don't want his face to be shown at. It's very important that people do not know the identity of him, because he has a very important civilian job. Thus, that's why we don't do it. But trust me, we will. Anytime Real and Andrew decides to do their normal podcast, they do it with their video. I am up for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could just, because it wouldn't bother me. But, at the risk of me not having employment, I think I'm gonna keep myself behind the camera.
Yeah.
So no employment means no internet, which means no electricity, which means no YouTube. So it doesn't, it puts me in a bad situation. But yeah, I wish I could, but due to my job, I cannot.
And with
we
that
could do a
said,
Rey Mysterio mask or something, dude.
yeah, that's
I could come out here with the V for Vendetta mask, just
Be prepared for free agency at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Free agency starts at 4 p.m. and I will be doing a live broadcast of free agency frenzy. There we go. And Luke will be at work, so that will be showing my image as well. So make sure you jump on there. I'm going to have DSA members that can be on, and we can get into it because I think it's going to be funny. Hook Cam, as an individual who's not a Lions fan, we are in a win now mandate. What should we do in this win now mandate to make our team better? What do you think the plan should be?
Well, I think that we've hit on a lot of the really good points that the Lions should put on the front burner. Addressing offensive line, keeping Matt Stafford upright in the pocket, that running game. As soon as you address that offensive line, you're going to open up everything offensively. I mean, you're going to be able to run the rock better. You're going to be able to throw the rock better. Everything's going to open up. After that, I really do think the Lions should bring out the paycheck for Chris Jones. And just thinking about that defense with the abilities of a Chris Jones and a Trey Flowers, and just thinking about perfect world case scenarios. If you do get a Chris Jones, he did play in a 4-3. Someone was asking if Kansas City ran a 3-4. They run Spagnuolo is their defensive coordinator. He runs a 4-3 defense. He's more of a 3 tech, but he's been in the league long enough where you could play him at that defensive end or edge defender spot, not necessarily in a stand up, but on the inside shade of the tackle. It's called a 4-eye. It's pretty hot in the streets these days when guys are running 3-4. He could dominate that position. So again, if we're talking perfect world, you get Joe Thuney, you get Chris Jones. That's a W in free agency, to be honest. Maybe some depth guys after that, but you can shut her down after that. And then once you start hitting into the draft, if you can still trade down and you can pick up a defensive lineman or an Isaiah Simmons, I instantly went to Derek Brown or Kinlaw. That's a filthy defensive front. I mean, that would be outstanding. But again, addressing the offensive line, and then you got to build your defense through the draft, and that's with a Simmons or that's with a Kinlaw or a Derek Brown. In my opinion, that's the path that you guys need. The one other thing that I keep reminding myself after I'm talking, the Detroit Lions need to understand how to pressure, and that's a coaching thing, and that's a Patricia thing, and the new defensive coordinator, Corey Unlin, he's bringing over a Philadelphia philosophy. He was with Philadelphia for the last couple of years. He understands that those guys have won a Super Bowl recently. You have to be able to pressure the quarterback, and it's not the 2007 Giants anymore where you can just line up your front four and say, go get them, and then just kind of drop back into coverage. You have to be creative with your pressures. And if you saw the Chiefs and you saw the Patriots 2 years ago, the one thing that they did so well come playoff time was being creative with their blitz packages and their twists up front. That, I think, is the key to being able to slow down offenses, getting them off the field on third down, and keeping that defense fresh. Learning how to pressure is, in my opinion, the number one thing the Lions need to do in this offseason. And whether that's through free agency or whether that's through the schematics, that has to be number one.
So hold on. So Cam, was you telling me if the Lions got a coaching issue?
Well, you could say that,
Lord.
yeah. I'm saying he's got to be able to pressure, man. You can't just line up and rush four and expect to get to the quarterback. It's not that kind of league anymore. Offensive linemen are too good.
Our head coach was a former what though in New England?
Oh, trust me. When I went back and watched the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl, there was no pressure on third down. And it was literally Patricia being like, hey, the Foles, he's going to make a mistake at some point. And he didn't. You have to pressure. You have to you have to rattle quarterbacks. You have to get in their face. You have to give them creative looks and bring pressure on the quarterback. So in that sense, Luke, yeah, he does have an issue as far as pressuring quarterbacks on third down. That I would say. So
what you said is he been doing this before he was a head coach?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know. Okay, go ahead. Just want to be clear. Go ahead. That's sarcasm if y'all didn't catch it.
No, never. From you, Luke, no.
But,
It is your
Good.
time now to ask any of us questions. If you'd like to ask us personally, go ahead. As a whole, go ahead. It is your time. We'd love to hear from you. We have many individuals that love to talk, even if it's not about the Detroit Lions. We got the Hook Cam, who's not a Lions fan, but he's very informational when it comes to football and everything you want to hear about. And here's the first question. Do you guys really think that they don't make the playoffs, they'll be fired, and why? Luke, I know you're going to answer this one fun.
No, no. I am under the belief that he's getting a fourth year. The Lions are trying to change their fortunes with continuity, not with consistency, but continuity. They're trying to keep people in place for longer periods of time. I mean, Jim Caldwell got 4 seasons. And Jim Caldwell's 4 seasons weren't always pretty. They were very ugly. He didn't fight for his team. You didn't see his best plays come out until he knew he was getting ready to get fired. And I'm like, where was that stuff at the beginning of the year? So, no, I do not believe that this win now mandate is one big joke, something to sell to the ticket holders so they can then turn around and introduce that we now have fish tank seats or something. Because I don't know what else they can do. I don't think he's getting fired whether they make the playoff or not.
Now, I disagree. I do believe that we have to make the playoffs or be a playoff contender. But again, what is that going to be considered this year? I don't know. We got new rules in the CBA that could be taking place. But I do believe they have a lot of heat and they have to make the postseason or a significant gain to become a contender, not a 3-12-1. Jim Bordeaux, again, subscribe to his channel. He's new to YouTube. It's not YouTube Detroit Lions, though. He's done several episodes when it comes to podcasts of the Detroit Lions through Spotify and other programs that's utilized on the net. He talks to all the beat writers, and he has a good insight to individuals who's really close to the Lions. So make sure you do that. And he says here, what about Rick Wagner? Do we upgrade there in Conklin? Now, this is interesting for me. I'll go ahead and answer this one. I think it's possible we let Wagner go. This is something I talked about last year because of his cap. But if we let him go, we got to make sure that we have a good replacement. Could it be Conklin? I don't know. I think he may be the price out for us. But it will be interesting to see. This is probably one of the biggest developments I'm paying attention to is this offensive line on the right side. I think we could have 2 new individuals on the offensive line starting next season, and that would include Rick Wagner as well as Glasgow being gone and maybe getting a Tooney. Let me see. I like the coach. Great find, DSA. Hey, he understands his football, and it's great to hear a different perspective. That is not what we usually hear. Real, would you trade Slay and a second for a first?
I mean, how high is the first you're suggesting? That's the real question here, because our second is almost a low tier first round pick. So probably not, unless you're talking about like trading. Like, let's say Miami trades the 5th overall pick for our second and Darius Slay. I would 100% do that. Then I would have the 3rd overall pick and the 5th overall pick. Yeah, I would take that for sure.
Okay. Detroit Drew, if we pick a running back in this draft, what do you think we could get for Kerryon Johnson?
I don't think that the market's very high for Kerryon. A 2nd round draft pick. I think we could get a 2nd or 3rd back. You know, he's been riddled with injuries his first 2 years in the league. You know, he's still unproven. You know, so I don't know if teams would be really high to trade up for him, but probably a 2nd or 3rd.
Okay. Let me see here. Luke, do you see the Lions trading down twice? Obviously 3 to 5 with Miami, then maybe from 5 to 6 with the Chargers, or 5 to 7.
Yes, the goal right now for Bob Quinn this year is to get more picks so he can make more picks and have more hits than he do misses. So yes, they're gonna listen. They're gonna be very aggressive in trading down. If whether it be once, twice, 3 times, they're gonna trade down, trade up, trade down. It's gonna be a lot of trading this year for the Detroit Lions. And I think it's because he wants to put himself in a position to get all the players that he wants. And for me, I think that is evident in the fact that he's open about it, that everything on the table at 3, That's trade, select a player, you know, trade the pick for future pick. It's whatever he can get the best deal possible is up for debate at this point where he's like, I'm taking it all. So yes, I see them doing that at least twice or three times this draft.
Hook Cam, Caden Allen says, what other linebackers besides Simmons would interest the Detroit Lions? Is there any other individual you could see the Lions going after?
Yeah, linebacker was a position that I definitely wanted to take a look at when I started taking a deeper dive into the Lions. Simmons is obviously the number one, but I wouldn't even consider Simmons a true linebacker. He's kind of a jack of all trades, and we've gotten into him enough. The other two really other guys stand out to me, and that's Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma, who I'm sure you guys have heard about. Very rangy linebacker, played in the Big 12, so guys are spreading the rock out, throwing it around a lot. He can go sideline to sideline. I think that he can fill gaps. He's definitely a good football player, and a guy who can help the Lions right now. The other dude is the LSU guy, Patrick Quinn. Both of those guys are almost the same. I'm looking at the list right now. Queen is 6'1", 227, and Kenneth Murray is 6'2", 234. So about 7 pounds of difference between the two of them. But either of those guys would be good picks. But again, I agree with what you guys are saying, and something that I do want to the message I do want to send is that defensively everything is connected. You have to have a defensive line that complements your linebackers, and you have to have a defensive line in front seven that complements your secondary. And in my opinion, I kind of feel like from you guys as well, that defensive line has to be addressed, whether it's through free agency where you bring out the cash for Chris Jones, or through the draft when you're taking a legitimate pick like a Kinlaw or a Brown or a Galmore. Any of those guys I think would be able to be serviceable. But as far as the other two linebackers, Kenneth Murray and Patrick Quinn are the two other guys who definitely are guys to keep an eye on.
Now, Joe Burns, and this will go to you, Drew. How do you feel about the proposed change for this season, i.e. the playoffs and extra games?
Extra game one hasn't been confirmed yet, has it?
Nope.
Not yet. Not with the I don't even think it would be this season if it was proposed. I think that would start next season. But I do believe the extending of the playoffs would start this season. I believe.
You ready to see me turn heel real quick?
Yes.
Oh man.
The Lions are still not making the playoffs this year. Even with that extra spot.
You out cold, man. You out cold.
I'm just being honest, man. The Lions are like in an abusive relationship, man. You can only take so much before you start to lose faith in that relationship. And I just have not seen enough with this Patricia and Bob Quinn. Bob has been here longer than Patricia, so it's been like hit and miss. They do one thing that you're like, okay, finally this is the turning point, and then they go ahead and do something stupid, trading away a contributing player away for a draft pick that is really useless. So I just have a tough time believing that this is a playoff team right now.
General view, and I'll answer this one. Do you think we extend Kenny Galladay this offseason? Absolutely do. The reason he's not got extended so far, there's two reasons for this. One, when it comes to finances and economics, when you have bills you got to pay, you generally pay off the cheapest ones, i.e. we've seen with Danny Amendola and maybe other signings. And then when you get all that stuff away, usually you go after the big dog or the big bill. I think you're going to see that with Kenny Galladay, as well as the CBA is not reached. And I think that's kind of hampering some teams signing some players. But I absolutely do believe Kenny Galladay is going to get re-signed, and he will be a Detroit Lion for the next 5 years at least. Oh,
you know what? Let me talk this out here really quick, because my phone feed is blowing up and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. They have 6 players who have reported that they would not participate at the combine at all. And the latest person is now free safety from LSU, Del Pritt. I hope I said his name correct.
Mm-hmm.
He is saying that he is not participating in any drills at the combine, but he will do interviewing.
That's kind of shocking.
This is becoming an issue.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
This is becoming an issue. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's because the combine does not have football drills. So why am I going to let it be based off of anything other than my film?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have football drills, but it's starting to become crazy where you got 6 players who are, including Chase Young, who is saying that they're not doing any workouts at the combine.
It's
It's kind of
entitlement, man.
shocking when it comes to Delpit. It's not like he's guaranteed to be a top 5 pick. He's generally projected in the mid to later of the first round. So that's kind of weird that he's actually doing that.
Well, it literally popped up that he did that. Another thing that just popped up is the Falcons are considering not picking up the 5th-year option of their former first-round pick from UCLA, McKinley. So stuff is happening as we speak right now, people.
And this is a very entertaining time. This is where you're going to get a lot of rumors, you're going to get a lot of information. Again, the NFL Combine, agents speak to teams, teams speak to agents, teams speak to other teams about trades. Trades can get done now. It just wouldn't start to the league year. So I'm definitely paying attention with Darius Slay this whole week, because if something gets done, you'll probably hear about it fairly quick, specifically because Bob Quinn literally said, yeah, we're willing to trade him. Not too many times. Well, we have been on for nearly an hour and a half, and I have to work in the morning just like the rest of everybody in the United States. You got to work, and I get up fairly early, so we're going to do last words, and I'd like to start off with the hook cam. What do you got to say to the folks?
You know, fellas, the Lions are not in that. Like, I'm going to speak to as a fan base from an outsider's perspective, which is what I've been doing the whole time. But as after watching the film on these guys, they really are not that far off. And it seems like you are, because you're like, dude, we got the number 3 pick. We won 3 games last year. What's this guy talking about? I'm telling you right now, like Stafford coming back, there's key pieces that you have to go, and there's key pieces that you have to go get. But I really do think that this team can make a splash. The Packers, as much as they look like the powerhouse of this division, there's not a lot of skilled players on that team outside of Rodgers and Devontae Adams. The Vikings are very one-dimensional, just lost their offensive coordinator. And I'm completely blacking out on who the other team is. Vikings, Packers, Lions. Who am I blacking out on?
Trubisky's Bears.
Lions,
The Bears. Oh, geez. Well,
Bears.
that's why I'm blacking out on him, because Trubisky's still playing quarterback.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I don't think this team is that far off. You got to build from the trenches out, just like the rest of you guys are saying. But I really appreciate you guys having me back on, and I look forward to it next time.
And we appreciate you jumping on, man. You're bringing a different dimension, and it's extremely nice to have an individual that's coached the game and gives through a coach perspective. We got Andrew, who played quarterback. We got Luke G, who played linebacker. Myself as a wide receiver. So it's really nice to get a coach's view. Detroit Drew, man, what do you got to say to the folks?
Well, I didn't play football, but I drink beer, so that qualifies me enough. No, I'm gonna turn. I went heel. I'm gonna turn face real quick. You know, this is the year of the fat guy. If Patricia's year, this is the best year we're gonna get out of him, because since he's a fat guy. So I'm gonna say.
The snacks got released on Fat Tuesday.
That is ridiculously, hilariously funny.
You can't make it up, man. You can't make it up. It writes itself.
Real, man, what you got to say to the folks?
Hey, first I want to say I'm happy to be able to talk to the hook cam, because you should hear how Luke praises you every sentence. He's like, man, the hook cam says this and the hook cam says that.
We think a lot of life. All he puts in the group chat.
Yeah. But for real though, there's one thing I wanted to say before I get off as well. I just want to fact check myself and to confirm what I was saying earlier about the contract. So usually it goes up around $10 million a year. The current cap is at around $200 million, and potentially it can go up to $300 million in 3 years. That'd be a $33 million raise each year. That's crazy.
Wild.
So
much money.
That would be absolutely wild. So I think that'd be something that would definitely benefit the Lions in the way that Bob Quinn has been handling free agency. But with that all out of the way, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody here on the roundtable today, and subscribe to everybody in the DSA. And if you're real Detroit Lions fans, hop onto my channel and join the real Detroit Lions fans.
Luke,
yes, sir.
Let it roll.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, as always, this community is steadily growing. We have residential Packer fans, residential Patriot fans. We have residential Kansas City fans. And we got them all. Charger fans, they are here, and the community is growing because they love what's going on here. So to you, I salute you. I think today's positive word is going to be this. Everybody comes from a different background. No one man is the same. No one man is too different from the other. However, at the end of the day, we all bleed one color, red. And somehow, some way, we all find a way to grab a simple connection between one sport, football. So what is that moral of that story? Doesn't matter where you come from, how rich you are, how poor you are, how big you are. It doesn't matter your skin tone. Doesn't matter if you are a man or female. What simply matters is the fact that when you come together in the midst of one large group and treat people like human beings, that's when we are at our best. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you subscribe to all of the members of the DSA. Make sure you subscribe to the Hood Cam. Make sure you subscribe to the newest Detroit Lions channel out there, Joe. I'm probably going to botch his last name, Bordeaux. I hope I said that right. Also, go and check out Pride Times B latest video, where he dropped one today, I believe, early this day, which I found very entertaining and funny. The thumbnail in and of itself is worth a click. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, don't be no chump. Please do your research.
It is extremely humbling that you guys show out as Lions fans, considering the fact, like I say, every single week, the season that we have, we still have hope. And it's just amazing the growth that is taking place when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to fan bases come together simply to talk about football. So we all love football. If you're a Lions fan, we love it and we hate it at the same time. But at the same time, we all embrace the suck together. So it's extremely nice to have this. We will again have the roundtable on Thursday night. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern time, whether it be on Luke's channel or Reel's channel. It will get done, and make sure to show out. We have a lot of interesting stuff that's taking place. Rumors are going to fly daily by hour because of the NFL Combine. Keep an eye on that, and if something big happens, we will be there to talk about it. With that said, folks, I leave you with the greatest words ever spoken to this planet. Adios.